The importance of self-knowledge. At the beginning of this exposition, reverential adoration is offered to Shri Ganesh first, then to Shri Saraswati, and finally to Shri Sadguru. What is the reason for offering salutations in this order? If someone were to ask, if the sequence of this adoration is changed, will there be confusion? The answer has to be yes, there will be confusion. This is because Shri Ganesh is the deity for meditation and contemplation, and Shri Saraswati is the deity for the exposition of the teaching through words. With the help of these two deities, the deity in the form of the light of the self that arises in the heart of the aspirant is none other than the Sadguru. Therefore, the Sadguru necessarily has to be adored after Shri Ganesh and Shri Saraswati. Only when the understanding of the subject becomes firm does the grace of the Sadguru descend. Neither the exposition of this text nor the contemplation on the context of the text will by themselves lead the aspirant to the goal. Therefore, one should reverentially adore both Shri Ganesh and Shri Saraswati. There is an ancient method of expounding the teachings of Vedanta that is commonly followed in this tradition, this sampradaya, when presenting the subject matter of this text to the aspirant. According to this method, first the manifest form of the Sadguru is seen by the eyes. Then the knowledge about the teachings of the Vedanta and the value and significance of those precious teachings is extolled through the words of the Guru. Then a mantra, a subtle name of God or phrase, is given, and the aspirant is instructed to practice meditation on the repetition of the mantra for a short period of time, usually several weeks, to imprint its significance within. This provides a means for the aspirant to make the mind more subtle so that the teachings to follow can be more easily grasped and realized. This is the seeker's initiation to the teaching and invitation to become an aspirant on the path to realization. In accordance with the method of the saints that has been outlined above, the Sadguru first explains about the subject that is to follow, then indicates its characteristics, and finally follows by imparting a detailed knowledge of the subject. In most schools of education, when teaching small children about any subject, the teacher first verbally informs the child about the subject matter that will be taught. This is called the kindergarten method of education. Similarly, initially the Sadguru verbally gives you a concept or idea of reality, such as you are he, or only Brahman exists, or some other similar form of mantra that is to be contemplated upon. Through repetition or churning, this idea will be indelibly imprinted on the mind. This is called the sampradaya of the Sadguru, the tradition. Through this preliminary method, the aspirant achieves results sooner. So be it. Afterwards, the Guru expounds the truth, which is the subject matter, to an ordinarily intelligent aspirant, and he understands what the Sadguru conveys and about that which he is teaching. However, the main difficulty is in experientially realizing what has been intellectually understood. Through the exposition of the subject by the Sadguru, one understands what the self, Atman, is. However, the ghost of doubt pops up in the mind of the aspirant in the form of the question, how am I the self? And the aspirant's mental attitude does not become free of doubt. There is an intellectual understanding, but no realization. The remedy for this is to study with determination and learn the teaching. Unless there is this sustained and repeated study, it will not be fully understood and realized. For example, in the instructional handwriting book, the letters presented are very beautiful. We understand this, but initially we cannot write the letters in the same way. If, however, the same letters are written repeatedly, then by virtue of that practice or study, the letters are beautifully formed as soon as the pen touches the paper. Here someone might ask, how much study or practice is required to learn the subject well? The answer is, the study and the practice or effort must continue relentlessly, according to each one's capacity, until it is understood or deeply realized. A general example can be stated here to impress upon the mind of the aspirant the importance of repeated study. An ordinarily intelligent man can understand something if it is explained to him 2 or 3 times. If he repeats it 10 or 20 times, it becomes a habit. If he repeats it 100 times, it becomes like an addiction. Once he becomes familiar with it 1,000 times, it becomes inherent nature for the one practicing it. If we look at the fibers of the jute plant, they are so delicate and fine that they become scattered in all directions when blown by the wind. However, when the same fibers are entwined together to form a rope, it is so strong that it can bind even a strong and violent elephant to a small peg. Similarly, great is the power of the repetition of the study of this type of practice. It is indeed true that Parabrahman, the Supreme Absolute, is all-pervading and eternally free. However, the wind in the form of mind has become so strong in us due to misdirected practice and study through birth after birth that it has imprisoned the eternally free Brahman in thought of identification with the body. About the tremendous result of repeated practice, Saint Tukaram has said, whatever is unachievable becomes achievable only by virtue of repeated study and practice. Recognizing the importance of this study, the aspirant should adore the principles symbolized by Ganesh and Saraswati. This means that one should fulfill himself by continuous meditation, and learn through repeatedly hearing the exposition of truth. Now, before one begins this study, it will be desirable for the aspirant to know many other things relevant to the subject. Why has the illusion, I am the body, arisen in a human being? What was the condition of the human being when he was born? How did he develop this idea of me and mine? Is his condition in the world free from fear? If so, by whom and how was he helped to be rid of that fear? All of these things must be taken into consideration.